President Bola Tinubu has approved the posting of 65 ambassadors designate to Nigeria missions abroad. And IPAC has threatened to boycott the 2027 general elections over alleged anomalies in the Electoral Act 2026. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining in tonight in Politics Today. I'm Chion Okimale here for you in Abuja studio. Let's tell you about President Bola Tinubu's decision to give a posting list made public today. The president approved the posting of 65 ambassadors designate to Nigerian missions across the world, comprising 31 non-career political ambassadors and 34 diplomats. The approval was disclosed in a statement earlier today by the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga. According to the statement, the ambassadors designate were earlier confirmed by the Senate in December, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has commenced the necessary processes for their deployment and induction. The presidency has also revealed that some countries have already granted agreement and the diplomatic consent required for the appointment of the ambassadors. Among some of the names that have come up and they are posting is the former presidential aide, Reno Omokri, who has been posted to Mexico, while former Minister of Aviation, Femi Fani-Kayode, will serve as Nigeria's ambassador to Germany. Also on this list is Senator Ita, who has been assigned to South Africa, and former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who has now been posted to Qatar, while a former chief of naval staff, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ebas, who served as an administrator in Rivers State, is now posted to Philippines, where Mrs. Florence Ajimabi, the wife of former governor of Oyo State, will serve in Austria. All the notable non-career postings include Amini Dalhatu as High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Mr. Latif Kadiare as Ambassador to the United States, and Mr. Ayodele Oke as Ambassador to France. The list of non-career ambassadors also featured several political figures and former public office holders assigned to strategic missions around the world, including Senator Jima Ibrahim, who is going to be the permanent representative of Nigeria to the United Nations. Well, IPAC is saying they will boycott the 2027 election because of some of the flaws found in the 2026 Electoral Act as amended. And that gets our attention. If IPAC, which is the body of all political parties, say we are not going to participate in the election, which political party will then be on the ballot? We'll be finding out from the chairman of the Interparty Advisory Council, IPAC chairman, tonight on the program. Plus, President Bola Tinubu has launched what they call GAMCO to monitor the grid and ensure that there is stable power supply in Nigeria, part of the president's promise to the Nigerian people. All of these get our attention tonight on the program, and these are important features in our daily lives as a people. But first, let me serve you with some of your political roundup stories.
Justice Joyce Abdul-Malik of the Federal High Court in Abuja has granted bail to former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami, his son and wife, in the 200 million naira each, pending their trial in the 8.7 billion naira money laundering offenses brought against him by the EFCC. Malami and his co-defendants are to produce two sureties who will stand for them like some. In a ruling on bail application by Malami and two others on Friday, Justice Abdul-Malik ordered that the two sureties must have developed landed properties in Maitama or Asokoro. Meanwhile, Malami and his son have been ordered to be remanded in Kuje prison, while his wife is to be taken to Suleja prison in Niger State, pending the perfection of the bail conditions. The trial judge, Justice Abdul-Malik, has fixed March 16th for commencement of trial. Wives and family members of military personnel detained for allegedly plotting a coup against the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu are asking the government and the military hierarchy to charge the affected officers to court or be set free. Addressing journalists in an emotionally packed briefing in Abuja, the officers' wives asked the military to charge their husbands to court and allow them to prove their innocence. According to them, they are neither asking for favor nor shortcuts, but the constitutional right of their husbands, who cannot be treated as guilty without the renouncement of a competent court. The women were flanked by human rights activists Omoyele Sowore and Deji Adeyanju during the briefing in Abuja. The Independent National Judicial Accountability Panel has called for urgent amendments to the 2026 Electoral Act, citing ambiguities in key provisions on the electronic transmission of election results and warning that such uncertainties could undermine electoral transparency and public confidence in Nigeria's democratic process. The call was made by the chairman of the Independent Judicial Accountability Panel, Professor Mujid Owade, at the end of the fourth session of the panel held in Abuja. He said the panel observed inconsistencies in the wording of several sections of the Electoral Act dealing with result transmission and urged the judiciary to ensure speedy hearing of cases of national interest, especially those involving constitutional interpretation and emergency powers. The National Rescue Movement has accused former factional leader of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, Edozie Njoko, of sponsoring attempts to unlawfully seize control of the party. The party raised the alarm over what it described as an orchestrated attempt by serial forum shoppers to blackmail the Independent National Electoral Commission. NRM National Chairman Chinedu Obi disclosed this in Abuja during a press briefing and called on the Chief Justice of Nigeria to caution judicial officers nationwide against forum shopping and political manipulation of the courts. A coalition of civil society organizations are vowing to occupy the National Assembly after 72 hours if various authorities do not act on a petition filed against the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu. The spokesperson of the coalition, Mr. Dominic Ogaku, disclosed this at a media briefing in Abuja. The group is also calling on the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee and the National Youth Service Corps to conduct independent investigations on the ongoing petition.
Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's tell you about what happened today in Rivers State, where the former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, has called on his supporters to remain calm and peaceful following an attack on his convoy and the burning of the Secretariat of the African Democratic Congress in his hometown of Ubima in Ikwere local government area. The incident, which occurred as the former Rivers State governor arrived to the state to formally register as a member of the ADC, the former minister praised the swift intervention of security agencies for their quick response. He also condemned the burning of the party secretariat while calling on security agencies to arrest and prosecute those responsible for the attack. Let me allow you to look at the amateur video which captured the moment when that happened.
Ask all of you, please don't be violent. Don't be violent, because violence may lead to the death of somebody. So don't be violent. But at the same time, they can't stop us from meeting in our community. They can't stop us from meeting in our community. I will thank the Commissioner of Police and the Director of SSS. They showed a lot of professionalism. Immediately I got contact with them. But I wasn't expecting that kind of cooperation. I thought we would go behind this criminals and not render support. But all of us will agree that the police came out. What about NSCDC, right? Came out. And the DSS also came out. So we're grateful to them.
That was the former Minister of Transportation and former Governor of Rivers, Rotimi Amechi, speaking after the said attack on the ADC office, just when he said to have arrived in the state to register officially as a member of the opposition ADC. But I'm just concerned for a lot of Nigerians when the umbrella body for all the political parties in Nigeria said they will not be participating in the 2027 elections, who then will be on the ballot. Nigeria's multi-party democratic system may be facing a fresh political flashpoint ahead of the 2027 general elections. The IPAC, Inter-Party Advisory Council, the umbrella body for registered political parties in Nigeria, is threatening to boycott the 2027 polls if what it described as serious anomalies in the Electoral Act 2026 are not urgently corrected. The warning follows a General Assembly meeting of the Council in Abuja, where party leaders raising concern that some provisions in the new electoral law could weaken political parties and undermine democratic development. That communique was jointly signed after that meeting by the IPAC National Chairman, Yusuf Dantale, and the National Secretary, Mr. Maxwell Mbudem. The Council acknowledged the effort that went into passing the law, but insists that certain sections require immediate legislative review, with preparations for the next election cycle gradually taking shape. Now, development raises critical questions about electoral reforms, party independence, and the credibility of Nigeria's democratic process. We'll be dissecting these issues tonight by the man who signed off on that communique, the national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, Alhaji Yusuf Dantale, will be joining us virtually from Taraba State in a moment. But you know that there are a lot of questions that have been raised as to some of the gray areas in the Electoral Act of 2026 and how formidable that law could be to enhancing transparent, free and fair elections in Nigeria. But when IPAC is coming out with a very strong statement, this means a lot, isn't it? Let me bring to the program now Alhaji Yusuf Dantale, who is National Chairman of Inter-Party Advisory Council. He's joining us virtually tonight. Thanks so much, Alhaji Dantale, for your time tonight. Dantale, thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight. All right, Alhaji Dantale, let's begin the conversation. This is a very, very serious decision that has been made by this umbrella body of the different political parties in Nigeria. So I'm wondering, elections are for the political parties. And when you and your organization, which comprises of leaders of all the political parties, come together to say you are boycotting the 2027 elections, what exactly did you mean? What areas in this law are called for concern that you went as far as saying no election for you in 2027? Right. It seems that Alhaji Dantale's connection is having some issues, but let's take a break, everyone. We will be getting to know the details of reason why IPAC is boycotting the elections and what this means for our democracy in Nigeria. We'll be right back, everyone. Stay with me. Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. We now have with us Alhaji Yusuf Dantale, who is the National Chairman of Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, the umbrella body for all of the political parties in Nigeria, which made a decision and threatened to boycott the 2027 general elections based on some of the flaws they've identified in the Electoral Act 2026. Thank you so much indeed. And I guess that the connection is better. You can hear me clearly now. Give us an understanding. What gave you the concern, and what are the areas you have identified that is calling for some kind of worries ahead of the 2027 election in the electoral law?
Good evening. Apologies for the interruptions in about trying to connect you. The issue is, you know what, the Interparty Advisory Council, of course, is the umbrella body of political parties, and in the wisdom of the elders who put it together, it's meant to see how we can deepen democracy through harmony, through constitutionalism, and where we see the principle of what IPAC stands for, we do what we can to ensure that we take it off. And if you remember or you recall, in 2023, during the collation of the presidential election result, Radio House, there was a problem, there was a challenge, and so how IPAC came out boldly to see that the system is restored and collation continued, and then we got a result. And today we have a government in place. Nigeria have endured 26 years of uninterrupted democracy. So where we see issues of concern, definitely the same way IPAC rose in 2023 will rise again to see that things are brought back to normalcy. And what are these issues? Here, election is about a year, and the process has begun. And we have a new law, Electoral Act, which was amended, and then we have a few concerns about some of the interpretations or the content of the Electoral Act that the Council see as inimical to the principles of democracy. Democracy is about inclusion, it's about free choice of the people, and all the stakeholders are expected to be able to aspire freely, and those who are choosing their representatives should also be able to choose freely. And in doing this, we have vehicles, and these vehicles are political parties. So, and all the political parties are meant to be competitors, competing for power for these offices. And in competing for power, that the atmosphere must be fair, it must be seem to be free, it must be all be inclusive. But where the law is seem to favor one segment of the society or the political actors and unfavorable to the majority, it calls for a serious concern, and IPAC will not fold its arms to allow that happen. And that is why we came up with this resolution after a wonderful deliberation in the National Assembly that almost all the political parties were present and came up with a communique attaining our concern. But it will not stop at that. We'll also, we are writing all the stakeholders from the National Assembly to INEC and some of those that we have listed, the European Union, the ECOWAS Commission, and others that at least we see who are stakeholders in making their democracy better, to express our concern so that things can be better. It's not a threat. It's just a word of caution. And it is meant to bring Nigeria back to where all of us will be proud as Nigerians. We love this country, and that is why we are doing this. It is not meant to injure anyone's interest, but to see that democracy is upheld for all of us.
This is a very strong position that you've made, and I'd like you to identify for us the problematic area that warranted such a drastic warning.
First, we look at the introduction of mandatory inclusion of NIN in the cost of registration of members of political parties. Yes, it is a welcome development. We don't have problem with it. At least let there be enough time for the parties to be able to put this thing together. But 5 weeks, 6 weeks is not enough for all political parties to go around the length and breadth of Nigeria to put this thing together. And it's expected, according to the dictates of the law, that if you are not able to meet up, it automatically disqualifies such political party and or its members from participating in the process. That is an aberration. It is inimical. Secondly, the issue of direct and or indirect primaries versus consensus. It is meant to be purely the affairs of the political parties to choose their own candidates the way they want. All parties, the parties are not equal when it comes to their ability to provide logistics and other things that need other requisites for election. So the parties and its members will choose what best fit them. Every party has its own constitution. So it is like taking the constitution of the parties. The Supreme Court position is very clear on this. So removing or expunging one procedure, which is indirect mode of primary, is unconstitutional. It is undemocratic. So it must be restored. Additionally, the penalty for vote buying and other electoral malpractice that was reduced. I think it's all that also called for question. And a fund, at least providing fund for INEC as the umbrella body or the umpire champion with this responsibility 6 months before the election. The time is too close. It's so compressed that we believe, because it is not the first time we are in this system, we know what it is when INEC go through. I know INEC might not be in the position to come out to say some of these things. So IPAC, as a bridge between INEC, the government, the people, we should be able to speak for all of us.
All right, thank you so much. There are those who feel this is a fait accompli kind of situation that you probably have found yourself as political parties bringing forward this kind of situation because it's a done deal. It's been delivered. Asking for an amendment again when the process has already begun looks like almost an impossible task. The question is, and INEC would tell you that their hands are tied because the law is electoral law that gave the provision, for example, asking for the details of how membership of political parties will now be recorded and transmitted to INEC. So it's a major problem, isn't it? And almost impossible. Perhaps the frustration which you saw to make you feel like, look, it's almost like we are being chased out of the race. We are being deleted psychologically from the race. And if that's the case, we're no longer going to participate. Do you think that there is a political will to sit down again and amend the law according to some of the issues that they have raised, and that will be on time and useful for the process of election?
Impossibility does not exist. It's about the will. And those who are saddled with responsibility of making laws for Nigerians should also to know that they are not making laws for themselves. They are not making laws for the National Assembly, but for Nigerians. And any law that they make that is not in line with the aspirations of Nigeria is dysfunctional. And rather than solving problems, they are compounding the problems. So, and we will continue. This law was passed. You saw the way it was already passed. When the issue of NIN, linking of Nigerians, linking of their NINs to their phone numbers, the government gave a deadline. When Nigerians couldn't meet the deadline, it was extended. When they couldn't meet that one again, it was further extended. Now, this is just about our phone numbers. Here we have a major event that the time we are talking about the future, the fate of every Nigerian. and we say it is difficult, it's impossible to do it. No, it is not impossible. We can do it. They are there. The people who did it are there. You see, when the process of amendment of the Constitution and Electoral Act commenced, IPAC as a body come together. All the political parties made wonderful contribution, and we made our unanimous position known to them, where the actors were on the field. We defended this in, we argued it with them, I think for about a week or more. We did it again. So none of those positions that were suggested to the National Assembly was even looked at. So who is this ones that is being passed, or you, who is it, in whose interest is this law made? How does it benefit democracy? We need to be educated, because for us in the system, this is it's like taking us back to where we were years back.
So let's look at it this way. How many political parties signed up to this decision of the boycott?
All the political parties were present. The only party that was not present there was the PDP, but every other party was present. Yes, but it's about the majority. It is not that all the parties agree, but I think there was only one party that did not, that was little in opposition. But PDP was in the outside that all the parties were present. You can call them to find out, to verify this claim.
So all the political parties, including the ruling APC?
Yes.
And they also agreed to a boycott of the election too?
They didn't agree completely. But IPAC, in our constitution, when we have 50% plus 1, that decision is good to go.
Did not really agree at that meeting, but the majority...
Just like democracy is a game of numbers. The majority will have their weight and minority will have their say. The position of APC was a minority position in the assembly. We have 90% consensus on this issue. So
it's actually ironic, because APC had the majority say in the National Assembly to pass the law, but unfortunately, at the Association of Political Parties, they were in the minority. But, I mean, this boycott, what will it look like? There are those who will be asking the question, has IPAC approached the National Assembly? Is there a conversation already?
There was a conversation, and there have been oral conversation, but now we are going to formalize every step we will take on this issue. So it is not about National Assembly, it's about Nigeria. It's about democracy. It's about the future of Nigeria. And it is about the future of Nigeria. Everything that needs to be done must be done to ensure that we have a better Nigeria. We have Nigeria before having political parties. We have Nigeria before having elections. So Nigeria comes first.
The question I'm asking, did you engage the National Assembly? Do you make them see reason for them to amend this? The areas that you have highlighted.
The engagement was done during the harmonized sitting of the two houses of the Senate and the reps. So what we saw is just this. So it took us by surprise, because this was not even part of any of the discussions during that period. So it's not something that anybody knew. We never go there. Nobody discussed this. Nobody recommended this. So how come is it forming? Is it the only thing that is being discussed now? I forgot that another position of IPAC is that mandatory transmission. The language should be changed or should be looked into and reviewed. Some suggested, those who are legal minorities said the language should be changed from real time to either fall to it or otherwise. But what is important is that the legal position of what is on the IREF and what is on the paper should be the same.
Now, my worry is there would be a need for you to meet with the leadership of the National Assembly again.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This your position from your General Assembly meeting, and the communique needs to be passed on to them that this is the position of the majority of the political parties. And I'm wondering how many political parties agreed in numbers. I mean, we have how many political parties now? And I don't know how
19,
many of...
Now we have 20, we have two. We have not seen them, but we have 19 that we know now on ground. So out of the 19, we have 18. We have 17, 18 who agree to this position 100%.
So I guess you know the implication. If APC did not agree at that meeting for a boycott, and 17 or 18 political parties agreed to a boycott, that means APC will be the only party on the ballot. Is that what it means?
If that is what they want to do, it's no problem. We'll look at it. We're waiting to see that at least to form part of our history. That there was a time in Nigeria that other political parties took a position, and one party went ahead and conducted election and swore themselves in. It will form part of the history.
I mean, is it a sense of the fact that you thought the political parties are thinking that this race is already won before it gets started in the manner in which the law has been framed, and that you are going to be blindsided with the manner in which the law is? Is that what is making you feel like that? That you are not going to have a level playing field? Is that what the thinking of the political parties?
I won't predetermine any party. I will not predetermine the position of any individual or any party. It is left for Nigerians to determine. You remember, there was PDP in Nigeria that said they would do 60 years. Later, there was amalgamation or
Alhaji Yusuf Dantale is the national chairman of the Interparty Advisory Council, and he's been speaking on the planned, the threat or the agreement by the National Assembly of IPAC in boycotting elections if the law is not amended to suit some of what they have raised. So my question is, the feeling, and you said that is for Nigerians to decide, but what you can say for yourself, because not only that you are the leader of all the political parties, you are also the national chairman of your own political party. Is the feeling as such that going into this election is an already decided matter if the law remains as it is?
If you are going into election, you are going into competition. You are going into a race. If you are going into a competition, you are going into a race, it is expected that the rules must protect the interests of every participant in that competition, in that race. So it must be, the path to victory must be equal for all until the winner who will emerge at the end of the day. Of course, in every competition, one person or one actor must emerge. But for that emergence, for it to be deemed competition, a fair competition, it has to, the environment, the atmosphere for that competition must be equal. So everyone should be able to participate. You are going to run a race. Some people already have some ropes tied to their legs, and someone behind is holding it, and you blow the whistle and ask the other person who doesn't have anything tied to his leg to run. You already know what the outcome will be.
That's indeed very intriguing. If some of what is happening now, my question would then be, if the act is not amended quickly, what concrete steps will IPAC take beyond issuing a warning?
The same way we sat, the National Assembly will convene again, and then we have some action plan itemized, and then we'll take them up step by step.
Now,
it will be premature now to say this is what we are going to do. until we don't get the result that we ask. But Nigerians should know that we are not, this is not just for me, it's not for you, it is for all of us, it's for democracy.
Another side to this story, Alhaji Dantale, is if the National Assembly refuses to amend the law before the next election cycle, is IPAC truly prepared to mobilize political parties nationwide to boycott the 2027 election? And what would that mean for Nigeria's democracy?
The mobilization is automatic. You should understand that communique is not for me, not me as Yusuf Entele. It is the parties, it's everybody's position. So it's everybody's undeniable position that this is what we want. And if that is not done, we will now resort to A, B, C, D. So if that is not done, then the parties will now sit down again and then itemize step by step. Since this is not done, what is the next thing to do? That is not done, what's the next thing to do? That is all. But I won't say here now that this is the step we are going to take. Now, but we stand with what we demand. Now, those demands must be addressed. If they are not addressed, definitely we will do something.
If there are positions made by leaders of the ruling party, the APC, for example, and they say, well, we've had this consultation. Before it was signed into law, everybody saw it. It's a matter of, okay, if you're not satisfied now, maybe in the next election cycle or before then, we would have been able to amend it. And there are arguments in different ways which those who have drafted it and said, look, and amended it in the National Assembly, say, these are the intendment. But the bigger question, and we saw in the town hall being that was backed and supported by the civil society organization, to the effect that there are areas, at least 7 of them, that Nigeria needs to look out for. And there are gray areas which INEC needs to be careful, political parties need to be careful, voters also need to watch out for. The bigger picture is that what would be a give and take, a 50-50. If, for example, they say you cannot have it all, but let's take these and we give this. What would you say would be the midpoint? Is there a midway? If you cannot have your way, absolutely.
So I am not here to negotiate on behalf of the parties. And I can't do that here, but the parties have made their position known. I am elected by all the parties to represent their interests. And they spoke through me. So if at the end of the day, there's need to do anything, the parties will also sit. There are in IPAC, there are people who are far ahead of me when it comes to thinking, when it comes to intelligence, when it comes to political analysis. So we'll still fall back to them to review this position and then look at what is possible. So I won't be able to say anything. But for now, we are taking a position that this must be addressed immediately for us to be part of the election, or we'll pull out of the elections.
The APC representative at that General Assembly, what was the position of the APC representative on this? What is their defense?
Of course, she made her position clear. The APC, IPAC, she made her position known that yes. But then the position of the entire assembly is what matters. So the position of the council, okay, which is about 90% agreed on what I am saying. So whatever position the APC representative made is immaterial, but the General Assembly have taken decision that this is what it is. This is the voice of the majority.
It does look like this is APC versus the rest of the political parties, and it means something very fundamental here. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, it is not about APC. We are not accusing anybody. APC is our member. It's about democracy. It is about National Assembly. It's about the rules. So saying APC is behind it will be prejudicial. Because APC was part of our meeting. And APC did not really say, no, 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 no. It wasn't, she didn't, the representative of APC did not take any stiff or extreme position about the position of the council. No. She only tried to make the council see reasons why A should be B or B should be C. But the other superior arguments say, no, this is what it is. And then we all agreed and took the position. So we are not accusing anybody. We are not accusing APC, but we are telling the National Assembly that is saddled with the responsibility of making laws for Nigeria, that this is what we want and it has to be done. They are voted by Nigerians.
Out of all of these gray areas, Ali Dantele,
we have to separate politics from governance.
Ali Dantele, out of all of these gray areas that you are... Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. I said, out of all of the gray areas that you have identified, which one gives you the greatest worry?
All of them. From the primaries, the indirect primaries, the mandatory or compulsory inclusion of NIN within 5-6 weeks, the disbursement of funds 6 months before election, and the certificate forgery issue. So they all give me, because we are trying to, all we want is to sanitize the system. We want, as Nigerians, want credible Nigerians elected into positions of authority. So if we cannot met or juxtapose proportionate punishment to violation of some of these things, the system must be cleaned up. We mustn't give room for anything that will make Nigeria a laughing stock before the international community.
So the reason why I'm saying this is that in some, when you're bargaining and there are ones that we need to be able to help us get some of these gray areas, if fixed, that easily can help us, give us some head start in some ways. And that's why I was asking if there are ones that give you the most worry.
Mr. Sheung.
Yes, sir.
As I graduated from Bayero University, Kano. If you are 2 days or 1 hour to your graduation, and it is found that you are into any fraud, a simple examination malpractice, you have to go back. You'll be expelled, but they will give you automatic admission if you go back to start from 100 level. But nothing. Even if your father is the VC or the minister or the president, you won't. I was a classmate to, I don't want to mention the name of the former president who is late. The daughter was my classmate, and I know what she suffered. I was a former minister who was a lecturer in the same school before he became minister. And the son was involved in practice. I know what the fate is. So if we have that punishment at that level, why should a wider space, a more serious business, like administration of the people's life, their future, be taken for granted, that we will make light punishment to certificate forgery? No.
Alaji Dantale, boycott or fix the election, that is a position of
exactly.
IPAC, isn't it?
Yes.
All right.
Or fix the law. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alaji Dantale is the national chairman of Interparty Advisory Council, IPAC. So let's quickly touch on one very important matter. Well, of course, Nigeria's electricity sector remains one of the most critical challenges confronting Africa's largest economy, despite billions of dollars invested in generation and transmission infrastructure over the years. Millions of Nigerians still struggle with unreliable power supply, frequent grid collapses, and limited electricity access. Now, the federal government says it is taking a bold step to address some of these long-standing problems, President Bola Tinubu has inaugurated an 11-member committee to oversee the establishment of the Grid Asset Management Company, also known as GAMCO. The initiative is designed to unlock stranded power generation, improve grid efficiency, and optimize key assets under the National Integrated Power Project. The pilot phase will focus on 3 major power plants, Omotosho, Olorunshogo, and Eovo, with a target of recovering at least 1,600 megawatts of electricity within the next 2 years. But here's a big question. Will this initiative finally address Nigeria's persistent electricity supply crisis? And can reforms in grid management translate into reliable power for homes, businesses, and industries? Tonight, let's see whether we can make sense of what this GAMCO means and whether this initiative is the right thing to do. But first, let me allow you to listen to the Ministry of Information. When at FEC on Wednesday, the decision was made, and it does look like it's the initiative coming straight from the president's desk, President Bola Tinubu. Take a listen to how the FEC, or the Federal Executive, the cabinet members agreed on what GAMCO is.
Mr. President came with a bill mulling the idea of setting up what is called the Grid Asset Management Company, GAMCO, Grid Asset Management Company. Of course, this is still work in progress. A committee has been set up comprising the Honorable Minister of Power, Honorable Minister of State for Gas, Minister of Works, Minister of Finance, the Chairman of the Nigerian Revenue Service, and the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, or any other member, at the Attorney General of the Federation, and any other member that they may co-opt to ensure that they come up with a seamless process of ensuring that this grid asset management company is set up smoothly.
Well, if you know that there are about 3 layers into getting power from the point where it originates and your home or your offices or your company or your investment. And those layers include generation, transmission, which of course a lot of people will say, look, our problem is not in one of these. Yes, we have infrastructure problem of some of the old infrastructure that could get this done. But the question will be whether or not GAMCO setting up another company or another entity or a committee or a group of people to organize and ensure that the grid is reliable. You know, we already have about 2 grid collapses this year alone. Now we're just in the early days of March, and several grid collapses last year, several other under President Buhari government. But there are those who will say we are able to get as much power, but the problem is the issue of transmission and distribution to your homes. What are the gaps? There is even a reform that has allowed the breakdown of some of these responsibility, such that before now, exclusively, it's only the federal government that has a prerogative to be able to generate or get power to your room. But this has been broken down. There are now reforms in our laws to the extent that state governments also can partake, private sector can partake. There is an unbundling of the sector. But why are we still, over 200 million people are still unable to have power supply, despite the promises, despite the number of, the amount of monies that are being spent to ensure that Nigeria gets stable power supply? Well, I mean, I wish we could have our guest who is a chartered, a United Kingdom chartered energy and electricity expert. Unfortunately, Lagos traffic could held him down and he was unable to join us. But at some point, we'll get some answers on this matter. But that's how far we can go on the program tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Akimale. God bless Nigeria.